Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast.
Welcome on in, everybody, to another Monday night live show. I mean, I got JG with me with the Sports
What's up, yo?
Buffoons. My name's Tanner. We're just here. We're here to talk towards the end of the NBA season. That's the series is tied up 2-2. No Nick Botkins tonight of the Botkins Show. He had a doubleheader here to coach some softball, so hopefully they win out tonight. But he'll be back next week, guys. As we continue our Monday night show, go check him out at the Botkins Show. He's on every Sunday night, 8 p.m. He's usually on with us here Monday night, and then he has his Tuesday night recap. So make sure you go check him out and go check out Let's Talk Sports as well. Fabulous things they're doing. We have a lot of stuff coming up that we're going to be involved in a lot of the that network with the podcasters that are on there. So especially on our Wednesday night show, 8 p.m. Central, coming out with NFL season. It's going to be an exciting time. Lots of people to look at, get a lot of feel for people as well. So it's going to be a fun time. Regardless, though, it is Monday night. It is NBA still season. Somehow we're still going on in June. Final week. JG, is there anything that the Boston Celtics can do to stop Steph Curry or even Golden State as we enter Game 5, Game 6 this week?
Well, as the old saying goes, you'll never be able to stop him. You can only hope to contain him. And so whatever looks that they're going to give to Steph Curry, you're never going to stop the guy, especially this late in the series. People always talk about adjustments. Well, guess what, guys? There are no adjustments. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can really do is just continue to mix up different looks with him. And they haven't really double teamed him a whole lot in this series. And I actually agree with that. I mean, I think you want to double team him occasionally off of that pick and roll. But as we've seen with Steph Curry, it's not like, and I'll give you a couple examples here, you know, guys like LeBron James and Luka Doncic. You can double team those guys and get the ball out of their hands in pick and roll situations. Now, a lot of times a guy like LeBron, he's still going to make the right basketball play, but at least you got it out of his hands. Whereas guys like Luka Doncic, you know, you get the ball out of his hands off that double team and that offense might fall apart. So I think with Steph, he can obviously, he's so good off the ball. And that's why I brought up, you know, LeBron and Luka Doncic. Those guys don't really play off the ball. Steph is an elite player off the ball. So even if you double team him, he's either going to find a cutter for an easy layup or he's just going to get rid of the ball really fast, then reposition himself and jack up a three and usually make it. So not really a good, there's no perfect way to defend him. But like I said, you just have to mix up the looks. Don't do the same thing all game long. And as far as stopping the Warriors, I mean, I think you got to just man up and try not to do too many double teams on Steph, but also don't let the other guys beat you. I think at this point, you know, Steph Curry is so hot right now that the best thing you can do is just kind of hope that, you know, because eventually he's going to have an off game, whether that be in this series or he may not have a bad game until next year, but eventually it's coming. So you just got to hope that eventually he'll have a bad shooting game. But the one thing that you don't want is the rest of the Warriors. A lot of these guys, I mean, yeah, Klay's had a couple of good games, but we haven't really seen an explosive game from Andrew Wiggins or Jordan Poole. And so I think at this point in the series, you can't afford, especially since 2 of the last 3 games are played in San Francisco, you can't afford to have a 3-point barrage where all of those guys go off, because we all know that role players generally play better at home. Not that I'm saying Klay's a role player, he's not, but guys like Wiggins and Poole on this roster are kind of like role players. You can't afford to have a 3-point barrage in San Francisco where the whole team goes off at the same time. And so if I'm picking my poison this late in the series, I just got to man up, guard everybody. Obviously, the other thing they can do is please don't guard Draymond Green. He's 0 for 9 from 3 in the series, and he has more fouls than points. So he's got 18 fouls and 17 points. So that's the other thing you can do. Don't guard Draymond, but please
don't bother with Draymond
guard,
at this point.
yeah, guard everybody else. But I would tend to stay away from the double team on Steph Curry because, he's going to make the right play more times than not. And so, yeah, they just got to man up and don't let, if Steph goes off for 30 or 35, that's fine. But guess what? He's gone off the whole series. So I think Steph Curry, he's averaging 34 points per game. So you can give up 34, 35 points to Steph and still win. The Celtics have already proven that. You just can't let anybody else go off. So that's why I would kind of stay away from the double teams for the most part. But I would mix it in here and there just occasionally, just to kind of keep Steph honest.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 games for Steph, too, we're looking at 43 this past game, 31 the game before where they lost to the Celtics, and then it was a 29-pointer. So the guy has been on fire. But, yeah, like you said, Draymond's not a threat. He scored 2 points the last 2 games, and then a 9-point in the against on game 3 or whatever it was, game 3, whatever. So, like, I'm not worried about Draymond, and I think the way to stop it is do what you're doing against Steph already, but shut down the others in your game. Because right now, Steve Kerr's messing with the lineup too. Last game, he had Otto Porter Jr. in the lineup trying to go small, and like it worked partially, but not full. Not I don't think to the effectiveness that he wanted. He's trying to mix that with some vets and stuff going on between the starters and bench, which I get, but I still feel like you got to have Looney in there to be effective. So I'd say if I'm the Celtics here, I'm focusing on Klay Thompson. I'm focusing on Andrew Wiggins. And I'm letting Marcus Smart do his thing against Steph. I ain't going to worry about it. I'm going to shut down those 2 guys because, like you said, they can go in a 3-point barrage before you know it. We've seen it before already in this finals where they do go off at times in quarters. So I'd say take take Thompson out, take Wiggins out. Just don't let them shoot. Don't let them do anything. And let Curry do his thing because Curry's not going to beat you, period. It's not going to beat you. He's going to score a bunch of points, but he can't beat you on all 4 phases of the floor.
Yeah, and I think, again, I mean, you could give up 40 points to Steph and still win the game. And but you got to shut everybody else down. And so I think, I mean, it is what it is. But I think overall, you're never going to stop Steph Curry because he's playing like a beast right now. The only person that could stop Steph is Steph, meaning that, his shot maybe his shot goes cold for a game. I'm not predicting that's going to happen tonight, but I mean, that's kind of your best hope.
It happens, we've seen it happen to him before, but I don't think in the finals you're going to see it very often. So here, Nick Botkins here, he chimed in real quick here. He says Kevin Looney needs to play more than Draymond, which we all agree on, and they get 1 game 1 there. So he'll be on next week, guys. So good to hear. Winning streaks. That's what we want to hear is wins. So let me throw this at you here, Jason. Let's say Golden State loses game set. Let's say it goes 7. Golden State loses, right? Close game, though. Close game. Does Steph get the MVP still if he continues to put up the points he's doing and the numbers he's putting up? Would you give it to Steph over, let's say, Jaylen Brown at this point?
I think that's actually impossible because if Steph were to continue on with his current average, which is 34 points per game, if he were to do that and still average that in the last 3 games, to me, it's impossible. It's mathematically impossible for the Celtics to win the series. I think you've got to have at least 1 off game by Steph. And if that happens, then no, I don't think they're going to give him the MVP in a losing effort because the only time I know of that happening was back in the day with Jerry West.
Yep.
And, that was a different game, a different era. And I just don't think that's something that the NBA would allow to happen, because if they did, I think there's a couple times they would have given it to LeBron in a losing effort, because, I hate to bring this up. He has lost the finals 6 times, but a
Tell
lot
me
of
more.
hey, I got to give him credit though, because in a lot of those finals, he was the MVP,
Yeah.
even in a losing effort. And if they're not going to give it to him in those instances, then they're
They're not giving
certainly not going to give it to Steph. But you can take this to the bank. If he averages 35 or 34 in all 3 of these games, like, it's mathematically impossible, because there will be, you're going to either see a game 6 Clay. That's one of his nicknames, is Game 6 Clay, or you might see the Klay Thompson game tonight. You might see a Jordan Poole game, Andrew Wiggins game. So I just don't see that happening. I think in order for the Celtics to win, you're going to have to see at least one game where they hold Steph to under 25 points. And that's just going to, that's what they have to do. He's got to have one bad game, whether it's because of their good defense or whether it's because he just has a bad shooting night. But no, like, there's no way in the world that that's going to happen, that they're going to give Steph the MVP in a losing effort. They'll find a way to give it to somebody else. I mean, which is very difficult at this point. We're going to talk about this later, but Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are averaging the exact same thing, 22 points per game in the finals. So, what are they going to do? But I remember back in, I think it was 2015 or 2016, there was one of those years where Andre Iguodala got the MVP. Mm-hmm. And he really didn't do a whole lot on the offensive side of the floor, but he played elite defense on LeBron James. So, yeah, I could see Jaylen Brown getting the MVP if indeed the Celtics are able to pull this series off.
Yeah, no, definitely. And let's actually get into that here as we look. Jayson Tatum for the Celtics here. Looking at 12 turnovers the last 3 games. He had 6 alone this last game in the loss to Golden State. But he scored a 23 last game, 26 game before, and then 28 before that. Are we concerned? Is he a liability for the Celtics team?
He's definitely not a liability. I mean, you brought up the turnovers. I mean, he's got 14. Marcus Smart has 12, and Jaylen Brown has 10. I think that's more of a team effort when you're talking about the turnovers. But, you're going to see if the Celtics lose this series, Jayson Tatum is going to get most, if not all, of the blame. However, in my opinion, he does not deserve that. If the Celtics lose this series, it's going to be a team effort. And I certainly would not throw Jayson Tatum under the bus, but that's, we all know that's going to be what happens. But my gosh, he's 24 years old. So if they lose this series, it's not his fault. He showed up. I mean, I stated earlier that him and Jaylen Brown are both averaging 22 a game, which, yeah, that needs to be better. But now I will say, he's not a first-team All-NBA player. Okay. So we talked about this before. Joel Embiid should have been first-team All-NBA ahead of Jayson Tatum. Now, that's not Jayson Tatum's fault. But as I look at his career, this is not going to be a blemish on his resume, because 24 years old, people look back at this and say, oh, well, it's his first time in the finals. Giannis Antetokounmpo was 27 years old when he won the championship. So Jayson Tatum only being 24, he's got a long way to go. And, although a lot of people will blame him if they lose this series, I'm not going to give him any blame, because he's just a young player who's only got one way to go, and that's up. And he's going to get much better as his career goes on. And honestly, like, the only person I could see to blame here is, this is never going to happen. Another thing that'll never happen. That's Coach Ime Udoka, because he's done such a great job up to this point. He's never going to get any blame. But I would give him a little bit of blame here, because I suggested, I think it was after game 1 or 2, I said, with all of those turnovers, and not having a true point guard in the starting lineup, they got to throw Derek White into the starting lineup, because he would be more equipped to run the offense. You'd probably have less turnovers overall because he's a true point guard. And we wouldn't have to worry about guys like Tatum and Marcus Smart running the ball up the floor with 2 to 3 minutes left in the game and then turning the ball over. I don't think you would have quite as many turnovers if he would have made that adjustment. Probably he's not going to do that tonight. For some reason, they like Derek White running with that second unit. And that might have something to do with the fact that
support coming off the bench.
Well, you could bring Horford off the bench, but I think part of it is due to the fact that he didn't start the season on the Celtics. So that was like a mid-season trade. So maybe it's a situation where they're just not comfortable at this point throwing him into the starting lineup. But I've seen it done. I mean, Steve Kerr's made adjustments. I think that was the year we brought up Andre Iguodala when Iguodala won the MVP. That was something that happened in the middle of the series. Iguodala did not start the first couple games of that series. That was something that happened midstream. And so you can make those adjustments throwing different guys in the starting lineup. And I think that's something, if I was Coach Udoka, I would look back and say, man, I wish, if I had to do that all over again, I might have inserted him. But, Celtics can still win. It's not over. They don't have home court advantage, but if they win this game tonight, then all of a sudden they do have home court advantage. So long way to go. But the bottom line here is I'm not blaming Jayson Tatum. I mean, yeah, he had a ton of turnovers, but so did everybody else.
Yeah. So Ilunian, I believe I said that right, from our Twitch channel. He's asking, do you consider Tatum an all-star now or only if he wins? Is he an all-star?
Well, he's always going to be an all-star. So what I said is that he's not first-team All-NBA. So first-team All-NBA is only 5 guys, and they threw Joel Embiid on the second-team All-NBA, which that's just not right. I mean, we all know that Embiid is a better player than Jayson Tatum, so that just didn't make a whole lot of sense. But in terms of just being an all-star, yeah. I mean, Jayson Tatum is easily a perennial all-star. He's going to be in the all-star game probably every year for the rest of his career until he turns like 35 or something like that. So I mean, he's definitely an all-star player, and he'll be either first, second, or third team. He's going to make the All-NBA team every single year, no doubt, unless he has some sort of an injury that would prevent him from doing so. But yeah, all-star for sure. You can take that to the bank.
All right. Yeah, I kind of agree with what you said, though, about Jayson Tatum not being the one to blame, because he did have a rough start the first 2 games, but he's really stepped it up this last 3 despite the turnovers. But it'll be interesting to see how game 5 goes tonight, because I want to see if he does clean up the turnovers like he did in, I believe it was game 3. Not game 3, sorry. It was the previous game. So game 4, where he cleaned it up a little, or sorry, it was game 3. He cleaned it up here with only 2 turnovers that game, but he did score really high, and he did have a bunch of boards. So he played defense, really passed the ball around too. And I'm curious to see also if Jaylen Brown continues to be that complimentary guy to him, because that's the case, Golden State could be in again. It's going to come down to the third, fourth quarter again. Whoever goes on a long streak essentially wins it. That's what it's been like this whole series. So I don't know. It's just kind of curious. So JG, let's go and skip on here. I'm going to
throw out one more thing about Jayson Tatum before we move on. And the way he's playing in this series is very bizarre, because he's shooting very well from 3-point.
Yes.
But his 2-point percentage is a disaster. Like, he's shooting like shit from inside the arc, but he's shooting very well from beyond the arc. And that's very bizarre. And I think what that has to do with is just the fact that he's never been here before. That's the main reason why I liked Golden State going into the series, because they have so much finals experience. And this is Jayson Tatum's first time being in the finals. And so this is very valuable experience. And the next time you see these guys in the finals, I mean, you'll never see this again. You'll never see Jayson Tatum shoot below 30% from 2-point range. That's just
For
never
field
going to
goal
happen.
range. No, it's not going to
You
happen.
know, he'll probably make the finals at least 3 or 4 times more in his career. You'll never see this again. And I attribute it to the fact that this is his first time being in the finals.
No, it's a good point because if you do look at it, last 3 games, he was 6 for 9, one game 3 for 9, the other, and then 4 for 8. So yeah, he has taken a lot more threes, and he's been really executing those 3-point opportunities. So, you know, that's huge for him, I think. And yeah, the field goal percentage is really odd. So, all right, let's get into it here. Prediction time. What are we going to see the rest of the series here before, I guess, our final? It's tonight your final show, or are you going to do Monday right after the one more Monday?
Well, I think we should go ahead and hit it up on Monday. I'll try to be on because I'm going to be on the road. But
That's right. I forgot.
If I can get to my computer, I will try to be on Monday because Wednesday is a little bit too late to do like an NBA Finals recap. So I'll probably try to jump on a little bit with you guys on Monday. But as far as my prediction is concerned, in the beginning I said Warriors in 6, and then after I saw a couple games, I said Warriors in 7. I still believe that the Warriors are going to win this series because of their experience. And you also got to look at this, guys. You see the way that Draymond Green is playing, and these guys are aging. Okay, so Klay is not quite as old as Steph is, but Steph Curry, I mean, these guys aren't going to be around forever. And I think they know, based on their age, that this could be their last run. And I know they've got some youth on that team, and they could certainly make a run next year. But I look at the way that Draymond's playing right now, and I look at the way that Klay came off of that injury. Klay may never be the same Klay ever again. A lot of people think that, well, yeah, he just needs another offseason. That might be true, but he doesn't look like himself right now, even though he could still have a big game or two in this series. But I think it's do or die for the Warriors. I mean, the Celtics are so young. I mean, they've got their whole careers ahead of them. And the Warriors are they're starting to get up there in age. And I think they know that their run is coming to an end soon. Maybe not this year, but the next couple of years. I think there's probably a little bit more urgency on the part of the Golden State Warriors because, I mean, my gosh, Draymond Green, I mean, he's fallen off a cliff, guys, right before our eyes. So he of all people should know, hey, I got to show up in these next 3 games because I might be done next year or the year after that. So with that said, I got the Warriors in 7. Don't really know how it's going to play out. My gut feeling tells me that it's going to go Warriors win the home game tonight, then the Celtics obviously win their home game. I'm still looking at that Celtics streak of playoff wins after a loss. I'm looking at that to come to an end, and I strongly believe it's going to happen in this series. Me as a gambler, I never bet against streaks, but if it's going to come to an end, it's going to come to an end against a solid offensive and defensive team like the Golden State Warriors. So I do think that streak is going to come to an end. What I don't know is if it's going to happen tonight, because I could easily see Celtics getting tonight, then Warriors get game 6, and then the Warriors get game 7. So one way or the other, I do believe that Celtic streak is going to come to an end. They are going to lose 2 games in a row for the first time this year in the playoffs. Just don't know if it's going to happen tonight or if it's going to happen game 7. My gut feeling right now is telling me that the Warriors, as I said earlier, they've got to have a sense of urgency based on their age and their experience. I mean, game 5, they know how important it is. And so I'm taking the Warriors in this game tonight, but I don't see this. The Warriors are not going to close this out in 7. I think the only shot that this gets closed out in 6 is actually if the Celtics win. If the Celtics win tonight, I can see a scenario where they could close it out on their home court. I don't think that's very likely, but to me, this has 7 games written all over it. So I got Warriors in 7.
Gotcha. Looney in here did ask if Tatum's averaging right now 22.3 points per game, 7.0 rebounds per game, 7.8 assists in the final series so far. Can he get MVP if the Celtics do pull this out? Do you have Tatum, or do you have somebody else on the Celtics team that takes the MVP?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question.
It is, isn't it?
Like Jaylen Brown is their fourth quarter guy. So, Jaylen Brown's the guy that always shows up in the fourth quarter, whereas Tatum, a lot of times, he seems like he a lot of times will shrink in the fourth quarter. So, that's kind of a coin toss at this point. I think if you ask people at the beginning of the series, like, yeah, Tatum would have the best odds, but he's really got to turn it around and start playing like a first team all NBA player, because he hasn't done that so far. So I think for Tatum to win the MVP, I mean, either him or Jaylen Brown kind of have to separate themselves from one another, which is kind of weird to say. They're on the same team, but right now there's not really much separation. I would give it to Tatum right now, as I said earlier, because of that 3-point percentage. And those are, 22, 7, and 7, whatever you just put up there. Those are good numbers. So I would tend to give it to Tatum right now, just based on that 3-point percentage. But a lot can change between now and when that trophy is handed out.
I mean, there's a lot to tell too, because if Jaylen Brown just has just one bad game, that really takes him out of the running. So, but Tatum had the first game as a bad game. So I don't know. It might equal out. It'd be a really tough call. Prediction for me here. I think it's going to continue to be a chop here. So I'm looking at the Celtics to win game 5, but then I'm looking at Golden State to finish it out in 6 and 7. I think Golden State does win the scene in 7. Who's your MVP? Golden State. Are we still looking at Steph?
Oh, it's got to be Chef Curry.
It has to be Steph now.
Because the chef has something cooking and he's on fire right now. So, yeah, you got to give it to Steph, because nobody else really did anything. I mean, even if you have, like, let's just say, for example, Clay explodes in 2 out of these last 3 games, or maybe all 3 of them, you still have to give it to Steph, because he exploded in all 4 of the first games. So, and he's going to have at least one more huge game before it's all said and done. So, yeah, I mean, Steph's going to get the Finals MVP. Basically, no matter what, unless he gets injured or something crazy like that. But I mean, he's already been injured and he came back and torched them. So yeah, I mean, I think you got to give it to Steph no matter what, as long as the Warriors win.
I agree. That's just what it's going to be. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on here. Looney had one more comment here. He says, "Are we watching any future Hall of Famers besides Clay and Steph?" That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know my thoughts on that. I know it's early and he's only 23 years old. I do think Jordan Poole is a future Hall of Famer.
Party.
He's got a long way to go. But Draymond Green is, I think, unless we have too many writers that hate his guts, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer as well. Draymond Green is, I promise you he'll be in the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. As far as the Celtics side, I'm looking at Tatum, and I want to say Jaylen Brown, but yeah, what the hell? I'll throw Jaylen Brown in there too. So those 2 guys will eventually be in the Hall of Fame.
What about old man Horford? Do you think he gets in?
No, hell no, he's not getting in.
Okay, there you go.
Not unless you're going to give him credit for his back-to-back NCAA championships at Florida, which I don't think the voters really give a shit about that.
I don't think they do either. So awesome. Well, I appreciate you commenting in here, Ilunian. Appreciate you watching as well. All right, guys. Don't forget to check out the Botkins show. He'll be doing his weekly recap tomorrow, roughly about 5 or 6 p.m. Central. You catch us Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central on our show. But also, I think we're doing the hot sauce challenge Wednesday as well before the show. This is going to be one interesting night. I believe we're going to start that about 7:30, somewhere in that range. Stay tuned on Twitter. Come to YouTube as well. You'll you'll see us when we're live. Make sure you have that notification because you'll know when that's going on. We'll have an extra few people as well doing the hot sauce challenge with us. I'm kind of dreading this, JG. I'm not going to lie. I am not looking forward to this thing at all.
I'm ready for my Tabasco. In fact, I think before we do that show, I'm going to go to the casino and play my Tabasco slot machine just to get pumped up for it.
There you go. And then we'll also be playing a game of Weddle, which is basically a guess the sports player game. So we'll be trying to do that as we do that hot sauce, and then we'll do our live show afterwards. It's going to be a disaster. I can't wait. And then don't forget, check out Let's Talk Sports, guys. They have daily shows throughout the way. Go check them out. Great setup, great people. And I'll be on there Saturday at 11. So, but all right, guys, catch us next week as we wrap up the NBA finals here, as we hope maybe we'll see 7 games here. I guess we'll see later this week, but catch us next week on Monday, and everybody have a great day.
Buffoons, guys. We're out.
See you.